Can everyone hear me?
1 second, Rita.
Sure. Okay, so just everyone can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Welcome. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Rekha Malhotra. I'm the Chief of Staff at Chhaya CDC. You're in our Richmond Hill location. We build housing stability, economic well-being, and power in the South Asian Indo-Caribbean communities across New York City. Because our services vary, we serve many communities in the neighborhoods like Jackson Heights, Woodside, Elmhurst, Jamaica, Richmond Hill with housing and financial services. And we also offer our services to everyone, including some of our client base. About 40% of our client work are not people of these communities, many of whom are Latinx. So we're happy to be here, and we're happy to be a part of the APA Voices Task Force. And I'm going to hand it over to Liz from Task Force APA.
Thank you so much for.
Sorry.
Thank you so much. I'm the coordinator of APA Voice Redistricting Task Force, and as you know, today we'll begin the Independent Redistricting Commission hearings, beginning with Queens County. Sandra Choi, Civic Engagement Manager of Minh Quang Center and the convening organization for the task force, will tell you what role our redistricting task force will play in these hearings. Sandra?
Hello everyone. Thank you for joining the APA Voice Redistricting Task Force here today here in Richmond Hill. Today, as Liz mentioned, the New York State Independent Redistricting Commission is hosting its virtual hearing for residents in Queens. This is the first of 3 they're hosting throughout New York City. Our task force members, many who are represented here today, are composed of the city's leading Asian American community-based organizations. We'll be providing testimony on what is problematic about the current district lines and why our communities must be preserved and kept together in the 2020 redistricting cycle. We are here because we want maps that respect and reflect the growing number of Asian Americans, our shared interests, and the diversity of the Asian American diaspora here in New York City, including the Indo-Caribbean and South Asian populations. We're here because there's much at stake. We've seen our communities survive the pandemic. We're witnessing them navigating the numerous insecurities that they face: food, housing, healthcare. And now we have DACA being challenged in the federal courts, the only social safety net for undocumented Americans. And it's really important to keep in mind that 1 in 7 Asian Americans are undocumented here in New York City. We want fair maps that keep our communities whole, to help us advocate for our needs and hold elected officials accountable. Dividing us dilutes our power at a time we need to protect it the most. We have one opportunity to get this right. This only happens once every 10 years. So we're really glad to be standing with our APA Voice Task Force members today to make sure we make that a reality.
One of the neighborhoods that has been carved up the worst is Richmond Hill, the neighborhood that we are in right now. John Albert, founder and president of Taking Our Seat, will explain how this neighborhood is carved up. And then Aminta Kilawan Narine, founder and president of South Queens Women's March, will explain the impact that this division has on the community. So John Albert, you want to come up and begin?
I'll stand here. Hi everyone, and thank you Liz for all of your work, and thanks to APA Voice for putting on this very, very important event. And congratulations to all the art contest winners. We're very gratified that the work that you do really puts a face to the work that we're doing. So we appreciate that very much. I just wanted to talk very quickly about Richmond Hill. As you can see, this is the map of Richmond Hill as the assembly lines are drawn right now. You can see that it's broken up into not only 6, but maybe 7, depending if you consider this part of the neighborhood part of Richmond Hill. So right here, this is where we are right now, right? We're in the heart of the neighborhood. This is the library, heart of the neighborhood. All of these, they're community facilities. They're all in the heart of the neighborhood, but they're broken up, right? So right here, this is the 38th Assembly District, represented by Jennifer Rajkumar. This is the 24th Assembly District, represented by David Weprin. You can see some of the boundaries, right? This is Woodhaven, Jamaica Avenue, and Van Wyck, right here. The community is split. This was the map that was drawn 10 years ago, and what we're asking is that a focus is placed particularly on Richmond Hill so that we can correct this tremendous injustice. I want to now turn it over to Aminta, who's going to tell you about some of the impacts.
Right. So, namaste, salam alaikum, sastri kal, shalom, and good morning? Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Aminta Kilawan Narine. I am the founder and director of South Queens Women's March. I'm also a board member of Chhaya CDC. A little bit about South Queens Women's March. We were founded right before the pandemic, and we were inspired by global and national women's rights movements. We amplified the voices of our diverse women in South Queens and gender expansive people as well. We're an all-volunteer, multi-generational, intersectional platform working to foster women's empowerment through dismantling the norms, practices, and institutions that support patriarchy and gender injustice. And that includes building political power and raising our voices to educate our communities and decision-making bodies on how historically oppressed we have been. And that's why we're also a member organization of APA Voices Redistricting Task Force. Much of our work, which has grown exponentially over the last year, has been here in the Richmond Hill, South Ozone Park, and Ozone Park areas, home to a vibrant and sprawling Asian American population, more specifically South Asians, mainly Punjabi, and Indo-Caribbeans, that census data unfortunately does not account for. These communities, my community, has been gerrymandered for way too long. If you take a look at these district lines, and that's the case at every level of government, to be honest, for these neighborhoods, you see a blatant disregard for the natural communities of interest that exist. You're going to see lines that definitely do not comply with the Voting Rights Act, but rather run afoul of them. And this is particularly egregious for the state assembly lines, where we're divided into at least 6 districts. How does this affect us? The ways the lines are drawn dilutes and divides us. We're not able to be a strong voice, and we're not able to elect candidates of our choice. Most people in our community don't even know who their electeds are, and that's because the lines that are drawn are not drawn with them in mind. Electeds who have us as just a sliver of their districts don't have that kind of vested interest in serving us. Time and again, we are under-resourced as a result. And time and again, we are accused of being an insignificant voting bloc, but that's in part only true because we are gerrymandered. We have one of the largest concentrated immigrant communities in all of New York City. Yet people like me, South Asians and Indo-Caribbeans, including countless Guyanese and Trinidadian people, have no real representation at the city, state, or federal level because our community has been artificially splintered. We take the same trains and buses, we go to the same schools, the same houses of worship, the same gurdwaras, temples, masjids, churches. We're even extensions of the same families, but the lines divide us in a way that dilutes our ability to be a strong voice. So, if our communities of interest were kept whole, we wouldn't be struggling to get garbage bins along this avenue. If we were kept whole, we could advocate more to address housing crises that we see time and again in our community. We'd be able to advocate for more funds to curb things such as gender-based violence, which we know is on the rise. We'd have a true community center instead of our seniors having to resort to go to Burger King and McDonald's to hang out, or the local library that already is in need of local repairs. I began to organize in my community actually 10 years ago, and the first time that I organized, and John probably remembers this, super young, and it was through redistricting. And I find myself today the day of the first of the Queen's hearings, saying the same thing that I did 10 years ago. Stop dividing us. Keep us whole. And I will be telling the Independent Redistricting Commission that later this afternoon. This isn't about identity politics. It's about fairness, equity, and justice. So hopefully everyone can join this movement and ensure that we are kept whole at the end of this process. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. In addition to Richmond Hill that is very divided, we wanted to highlight an area in Brooklyn, and that's Sunset Park. Manyok Yu, Executive Vice President of the Academy of Medical and Public Health Services, could not be here this morning, and I'm reading this on her behalf. AMPHS is a public health nonprofit in Sunset Park, Brooklyn. Do you have the other map? No, you're going to do that. Okay. And I just wanted to show you this is not the one that we wanted, but okay. Sunset Park is currently divided into 4 separate Senate districts, with the Asian community divided into 2. District 20, which primarily consists of Brownsville and Crown Heights, and District 17, which primarily consists of Borough Park and Midwood. The Latinx community is divided into District 20, District 25, primarily consisting of Red Hook, and District 23, primarily constituting the North Shore of Staten Island. Because of language barriers and lack of a direct subway line connecting Sunset Park to these neighborhoods, there are limited connecting factors between them. Sunset Park regularly receives fewer resources because we are so divided. In fact, there is no Senate office in the neighborhood that is easily accessible with in-language services. As a nonprofit, we receive limited outreach and funding from Senate offices representing us. This translates into overcrowded schools, lack of affordable housing, increased homelessness, and rising food insecurity and unemployment. We recommend unifying our communities of interest in Sunset Park, Bensonhurst, and Homecrest in one state Senate district. A large majority of non-citizens in Sunset Park, Bensonhurst, and Homecrest have low English proficiency at 85%, 82%, and 73% respectively. These South Brooklyn communities are connected by a need for linguistically and culturally appropriate services located across current district lines. During COVID-19, for example, our organization received hundreds of calls from community members from across these 3 neighborhoods, seeking assistance with public benefits, vaccine appointments, and testing, because we offered help in their language. NYU Langone and their federally qualified health centers in Sunset Park, one of the largest hospitals in South Brooklyn, similarly offer in-language services that attract Chinese and Spanish speakers across these communities. These neighborhoods are a home to a bustling array of educational programs that attract Chinese students across Brooklyn, 3 popular Chinese school programs teaching children to embrace their culture, heritage, and language are spread out across Sunset Park and Bensonhurst. Nearly a third of our ESOL adult literacy programs hail from Bensonhurst, 10% from Homecrest, though we are located in Sunset Park. Many of our clients also find work opportunities across these 3 communities, connected by the N, D, and R subway lines and 65 and 60 streets by car. The migratory nature of these communities reflects growing needs of our community to stay together through fair and cohesive representation. When ICE raids impacted South Brooklyn, we saw these immigrant communities similarly impacted due to the high population there. The recent anti-Asian hate crimes perpetrated against our communities point to an urgent need to have a voice that represents and protects us. A more equitable redistricting process will mean that we can streamline resources at a time when our communities are most vulnerable. In addition to Richmond Hill, which is grossly divided, and Sunset Park being put into 4 different Senate districts, we also want to advocate during these independent redistricting commissions to keep communities together that are currently together, because we have fought so long to be able to keep them together. One of which is Chinatown, Manhattan. We have Lillian G., who is a board member of OCA New York, who works closely with the Chinese Progressive Association, and she will read the statement on behalf of Mei Lee, who is not able to be here today. Lillian?
Hi, good morning. As she told you, I'm Lillian G. of OCA New York, and I'm reading this statement on behalf of Mei Lee of the Chinese Progressive Association. The Chinese Progressive Association is from Manhattan's Chinatown, Lower East Side. Our community began on streets like Mulberry and Mott, west of the Bowery's kitchen supply stores. Eastwards, you would see Latinx, Jewish, and some Chinese residents. Bowery was the dividing line of all political districts. The 1980s wave of new immigrants brought in new Chinese residents who settled into the Lower East Side, east of those kitchen supply stores. That became an area of Chinese, Latinx, and Jewish residents living side by side. The historical core remained the home of longtime Chinese residents. The community became aware of voting and civic engagement. When choosing candidates for local office, some voters chose from one set of candidates, while others chose from another. When community members sought services from elected officials, some went to one, while some went to another. It all depended upon which side of the Bowery you lived on. During the 1990 census, we helped residents get counted, since many had no experience. The final results showed what we had observed for a number of years, that the community was split into 2 districts, resulting in its voice being diluted. At the 1990 redistricting hearings, we advocated for districts that would reflect the reality of the area. Those efforts were successful. In 2021, Chinatown, Manhattan must still be kept whole in the same district.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So this afternoon at 2 o'clock, the hearings in Queens County will begin. You can watch those hearings. Many of us back here will be testifying this afternoon. You go to www.nyirc.gov, and beginning at 2, the hearings in Queens will begin, okay? Now, part of APA Voice Redistricting Task Force efforts is to educate our community about redistricting. People know it's important to vote, but they don't understand how important redistricting is, because they can vote as many times as they want, but if they're not in a district where they can be able to elect a candidate of their choice, then they will never be able to have responsible representation to their needs. And so we wanted to educate our youth. Ramdat Singh, Civic Engagement Director for the Caribbean Equality Project, will talk about the redistricting art contest that we launched for teenagers.
Hi, good morning everyone. As Liz mentioned, my name is Ramdat Singh. I am the Director of Civic Engagement for the Caribbean Equality Project, but most importantly, I'm also a public school teacher. From Founded right here in Richmond Hill in 2015, in response to anti-LGBTQ hate violence, CEP advocates for Black and Brown immigrants here in New York City by also building political power. As a teacher that teaches civics, I always try to get my students involved in their communities and the political process. So when APA Voice announced that they would be launching or sponsoring this teenage art contest, I was excited. I was excited because it's a way to get our youth involved now so that they can lead the way in 2030. This is about training our youth to become more community leaders and learn how to advocate for their community's needs and interests. The slogan for the art contest was, "This is where I belong." We posed this question: what places in your neighborhood reflect your culture and make you feel like you belong? We received 25 submissions from teenagers who attend 17 different public high schools in Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Queens. Members of the task force, who are right behind me, helped judge the contest. I am proud to present the winners in each borough who are here today. Beginning with Manhattan, for third place, which is the prize is $100, goes to Anna Shi for her drawing home. Anna, can you please come forward and bring up your artwork with you as well? Anna, can you please describe how your artwork describes how this is where I belong?
Firstly, I wanted to say the setting and the context I drew it in is supposed to be Manhattan, Chinatown, where I basically grew up in. Firstly, as you can see, as I drew, there's this girl that's supposed to represent me in the setting of Manhattan, Chinatown. Even though it's in like a sort of fantasy type drawing, I decided in the background, as you can see, the small details, there's stuff like selling fruit farms, a building, and all that. Where in Manhattan, Chinatown, you're able to see people selling fruit and all that, and I felt like that was home to me because the people behind those stands, the people selling this, were people like me, Chinese people. And these little things coming off of my eyes can be interpreted in two ways. Firstly, they're drawn as Chinese traditional clouds, which can represent my ethnicity being Chinese. Or it can represent the American dream that every immigrant so hopes for and dreams for. Secondly, as you can see down here, there's little boxes of little settings and all that, which represent my journey to be proud of who I am today. Because as a person of color, there were many times in my life where I've wanted to become white, to be white, to have certain features like a white person. But as I find by each little box, by each journey, I find out that I'm proud of who I am as an Asian American. And that's pretty much it. And as you can see down here, there's a bunch of Chinese characters. These Chinese characters can either say family in Chinese, home, or something of similar. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you so much, Anna. Congratulations.
So you're gonna stay up here because you want to get a group picture. Okay, next.
The first place winner, and the prize is $750, goes to Taffy Chen for her drawing, "This is where I belong." Taffy, can you please come up? And Taffy will also help or demonstrate to us how her drawing demonstrates "This is where I belong."
This is my drawing. It's the park that's next to me. It's a really diverse place. It's really big. Lots of people go there to just have fun or just go to swings. There's a dog park. I didn't manage to draw everything. I put it on one place. There's basketball. People sometimes hold festival there. People play hockey there, I believe. It's overall a really diverse place.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And Taffy will be getting $750, the first prize winner. So now moving on to Brooklyn. Our second place winner, which the prize was $250, goes to Ashrat Salih for her sculpture, The Golden Crown.
Wow.
Ash, you want me to help you hold it?
So my name is Ash. I live in Crown Heights. The place is a very diverse place. There's a lot of Muslims there, people from my culture. In America, we are considered white, but we don't have the privileges of white people. So we're always discriminated against. But when it comes to like things like the census or like other files, they always tell us to consider ourselves white and check in white. But I never felt like I was white because I was never treated as white. So the Golden Crown represents Crown Heights. And the rainbow represents acceptance because there I feel like I have a family there, even though people I don't know. When I walk and I see another Muslim, we always have this kind of connection, or like I just feel like I belong there. These two represents the hate crimes and discrimination as Muslims gets. It's obviously in the back because that's the past, and the crown is golden because it's showing light.
Congratulations, and thank you for this amazing sculpture. And our first place winner goes to Chloe Huang for her drawing My Life map.
For Queens. Oh no, I'm sorry,
Our first place winner for Brooklyn is Chloe.
I'm sorry, for Brooklyn.
I can hold it. Yeah. Okay, so for me, life isn't only defined as a physical home. It's the sight of my family around the dinner table, eating meals cooked by my grandmother, the familiar streets of 8th Avenue that I've walked again and again, and the Chinese bakeries and supermarkets that I've passed by. For me, culture is a fundamental part of who I am. I know that it'll stay with me now and as I look towards the future.
Thank you so much, and congratulations. And last but not least, our home borough right here in Queens. Our third place winner of the award of $100 goes to Chloe Kim for her painting, Pieces of Home.
So it's actually a mixed media collage, but it's okay. Basically,
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Basically, I just found that there were, like with the prompt, there was not like a singular place in my neighborhood that I really resonated with. The more it was like pockets of a lot of different places. So, yeah, that's what inspired this collage. And so you see a little bit of like aspects of my neighborhood where I truly felt like I belong. Like there are aspects of like the playground that I used to go and play with my brothers in, or like leaves from the gardens that my parents used to plant in the backyard, and like the lure tracks that I take to go to school, or like the windows of the bakery I get my of the Korean bakery that I get my birthday cakes in, or the highway that I take to go to church. So yeah, it's a bunch of like different aspects of my neighborhood that I really like felt at home in.
Awesome, congratulations. Our second place winner goes to Rapanti Wazid for her photo collage, Mini Bangladesh.
Hello, my project's name is Mini Bangladesh on the hillside. It's my neighborhood and all of the supermarkets that we shop at, the spices that we cook with, the food that we eat, the park that's across my house where all of the Bangladeshi community goes to play. There's a pond there that everyone just sits and plays music there. And anywhere in my neighborhood, anywhere that you walk, you're gonna see everyone with their families just kind of embracing where they come from. And it makes me want to know more about where I came from. And so it's just a community of Bangladeshi people that really love what they do. They enjoy each other's company, they lift each other up, and yeah, this is where I belong.
Congratulations.
Everybody keep your artwork out, facing out.
There's one more.
Okay, yeah, I know. And then this move this over a little bit so we can get the one group picture.
And the first prize winner for Queens of the prize of $750 goes to Pecky Chen for her painting, The Streets. I just want to explain how this shows this is where it belongs.
This is my work. This is a street that we familiar, and people know each other in this street to help each other, like big family. And the street was dressed up as more holy feeling, and people can celebrate together.
Thank you so much, and congratulations.
Okay, so can you just wait 1 second and let's get a group picture of all of you. Thank you. Okay. All right, so can the first of the artists, okay. And I'm going to ask the members of the task force to join in the picture. So Lillian, Sandra, Reka, Jenna, come and join us. Okay, all right. Okay. So again, you got the picture. Okay.
Check behind the sculpture.
No. Sure, so we can see the artwork,
Put your shirts on the behind the artwork.
You don't want to advertise to IRS.
We like to see money, but we were here to see the art.
Okay, so Ramdat, you want to stay up? Lillian, Sandra, Jenna, and Reka. You get us all in? Okay, thank you and congratulations.
Congratulations, girl.
All right, so everybody, I'm hoping the young people here, this has sparked your interest in redistricting, and you will watch closely what's going to unfold in the next 2 weeks. The Independent Redistricting Commission is holding hearings today in Queens, next Monday in Manhattan, next Thursday in Brooklyn. We must be vocal, we must be visible. So please follow this because it will impact your futures more than any of us. The redistricting happens every 10 years. Our young people need to know about it and become involved, okay? All right, thanks everyone for coming, and let's hope that we will be successful and get lines drawn that represent our community and gives us the opportunity to elect candidates of our choice to be accountable to us. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.